Yeah. There we go. This is, yeah. Oh, boy.
You're on again.
That'd be exciting.
Okay.
By itself, you all saw
So because
that,
we turned
right?
our microphone, you didn't have your speakers muted,
All happened.
right?
Only when you start talking.
All right, 6 o'clock, let's call the meeting to order, the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to November 6th, 2024, Credit River City Council meeting. We'll begin with approving or amending the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda anybody would like to make? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve. So, Jay.
I'll second.
Second by Leroy, motion and second to approve the agenda as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Seeing no sheriff's deputy tonight, we'll move past sheriff's report. Right to consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine or non-controversial are included as part of the consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requested an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately. Items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, a second and a vote. Any item removed from consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. Tonight on consent agenda, we've got 3.1 approval of the minutes from the October 21st, 2024 city council meeting and approval of the payment for the claims for tonight. Is there anything consent agenda anybody like to remove and consider separately?
Nope.
Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Abe.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. Motion by Zonto, second by Schomer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the council. The public forum will be no longer than 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The council may discuss but will not take formal action on public forum presentations. Do we have anybody sign up for open forum tonight?
Not that I had noticed.
Yeah,
Is there one person?
is there,
Well,
there's some on there. If you signed up, whoever's on the person list, if you want to make your way to the podium.
Oh,
yeah, yeah, toast. There you go.
No?
I thought that was just a
Okay.
fucking sheet. I don't know.
Steve, you next? Perry, if you want to talk, no.
Well, that'd be great, thank you.
If you don't mind, turn that microphone on first, please. Just hold that square button down. There we go.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the winners from last night. So good job, all of you three. The reason I'm here is I just wanted to make a couple comments on item 7.3 on your agenda, which is a variance. And I'm really not here to talk about the variance itself. I guess I just want to express my concern of kind of why it's here. What's involved with this is a building that was built, and it appears that it was a variance from the back lot, from the back line of the lot. I think it also needs a variance from the side lot because it's at 60 feet now. And if it's on a corner lot, the front lot or the side lot's same as the front lot. So it should be 67 feet. And then the size that's being built is extremely over what your ordinances call for, which would be 3,000 square feet. And my question is, first of all, it would seem like you'd want to tap the brakes a little bit and get them all together and resolve it all at once. But my real question is, why are you guys not getting the information you need to make the right decisions that you should be? It seems like this should have been taken care of at the planning level, at the planning commission. I mean, there's a couple of you that have been on the planning commission before. And it seems like having an ordinance and making sure that we're respecting that ordinance is kind of the responsibility here. And this one here is, I every once in a while I look at something that's going on here, and it really concerns me that that may be slipping through here. So I don't know if that's all been taken care of, and I'm just talking out of turn here, but it was a little note on the back of page, I think it's 18. Additional information. It's kind of like a just by the way kind of thing. And it seemed like a pretty serious thing in my mind. And then nobody mentioned the side lot setback either on that. So I'm not sure where that's at. It's the first time I brought it up, but I'm mostly concerned. I'm not really concerned about the variances and property and stuff like that. I'm concerned about the kind of the procedure and what's working or what's not working here. So if you guys get a chance to talk about that, maybe when 7.3 comes up, that'd be just awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Steve, I think, hopefully, Claire, our planners here, that's gonna make that presentation for that item and
Yeah.
take some notes on questions there, and I think, some of those questions will get answered.
What I was referring to specifically was on the setbacks, it talks about side setback minimum, which is 30 feet unless it's on a corner lot, which this is on a corner lot. And then it goes to the same setback as the front lot. So, and it was all right for that originally, but it's not now, I don't think. So you guys can figure that out.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve, appreciate it. All right, anybody else that would like to speak in open forum tonight? Seeing none, we'll close open forum. We'll move to section 5.1 Lions Club application. We've got Glenn and Perry from the Lions Club that would like to talk to us tonight.
Thank you very much. Folks, consider a scenario. A natural disaster comes this way, be it a tornado, a flood, devastating. But luckily, Lions clubs are in place to help a community, to move through anything that comes their way. Come to you tonight to talk about why it would be a good idea to consider starting a Lions Club in Credit River. A couple things that we do, we increase the sense of community, and we also help others through impactful service activities. Not only disaster relief, some of the other areas we touch are childhood cancer. We provide support for the needs of children and families affected by childhood cancer, diabetes. We reduce the prevalence of diabetes and improve quality of life for those living with diabetes. The environment, we protect the environment to create healthy communities and a more sustainable world. We're not just pancakes, right? Humanitarian, identify the world's most crucial needs and provide humanitarian aid where it's most needed. Hunger, food drives, improve food security and access to nutritious food to help alleviate hunger. Vision, we help prevent avoidable blindness and improve quality of life for people who are blind or visually impaired. And youth, we provide young people with the support they need to make positive choices. So why start, beyond all the great things we do, why start a Lions Club in Credit River? We have fun. Neighbors find friendship and service through Lions Clubs, both empty nesters and full nesters alike. We're part of something big yet unique. There's 1.4 million of us around the world, 49,000 Lions Clubs. You wouldn't be the first. There's a Lions Club in Prior Lake, Savage, Burnsville, Lakeville, Apple Valley, 2 in Shakopee, and Farmington. We're backed by a global association of over 100 years of providing service for our local communities. We make a difference, and because doing good feels good, where there's a need, there's a lion. So what can you all do for us? Promote that we're considering. We'd like to move a club here to Credit River. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to have an informational meeting. I've got a sign up that I'd encourage everyone here to at least come hear more about Lions Clubs. We need 20 members to start a club here in Credit River and start doing service projects. So I'd ask that you consider committing to Lions Clubs. Lastly, we have been around for 100 years. We are the oldest service organization in the United States. For those that didn't grow up around here, maybe you've heard of Lions Clubs. We do a lot of fundraising to help support the communities. but more importantly, we do our service projects. We reach out to where there's a need somewhere in the community to help put together a service project. So that's my information I wanted to pass along. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask questions, if you guys have questions or anything, or
Council members, any questions?
Yeah,
Councilman Marker.
Who organizes it? Is it the residents or is the city like establish it and try and recruit residents?
so a little bit of both. So we would come to town and help. We would have an informational meeting, and then we would help organize the club. And we would be in town for a couple of years till the club gets its feet started, kind of feet underneath them. What the city can do is help promote it and be part of the Lions clubs. We have lots of mayors and we have lots of city council members on clubs all around the state. So we'd ask that you consider, but it's not really a city organization. They're an organization, among ourselves.
Do cities combine, like, are there any Lions clubs that have multiple cities in it?
Sure. Burnsville Savage is one example. There are other examples where there's more than one club.
Fire Lakes, or it seems to be like be more efficient if we just maybe join a club that you said there's a whole bunch of clubs around us.
Sure. The one thing you lose when you do that, Prior Lake would love it if you did that, by the way. But the one thing that you would lose is your own kind of independence and focus just on Credit River issues, which is why we encourage. There's a lot of people in this beautiful town. I think we can probably get 20 to 30 people that are like-minded and want to start doing good stuff for the community.
Glenn, talk a little bit about what kinds of service projects, say, community-based, or, what kinds of things have you done in some other cities?
Sure, I can speak for Chanhassen. That's where I'm from. We recently did it's called a blanket tie project for kids going through childhood cancer for Minnesota Children's Hospital. We tie blankets and bring them up there. We just did a food drive at Cub in Chanhassen where we gave to Bountiful Baskets, which supports Carver County. Perry, some other examples of what Shakopee does?
Thank you, Mayor. Perry Mulcrone from Shakopee. When I got out of the Marine Corps in '98, a friend of mine asked me to join the Lions Club. I had no idea what the Lions Club was. I thought it was, like the Grand Poobahs or something. It's an absolute blast. I love raising money and giving it back to the community. So some of our service, we do Adopt a Highway. We do Smiles for Christmas, where we do teddy bears for children who are in the hospital over the holidays. So we do a number of them. We do 2 big fundraisers. We do a big softball tournament that's attended by about 90 teams in Tapa Park. And we raise a lot of money that way and give it all back to the community. We also do a big ice golf out on the lake when there is ice. And that's a lot of fun. That raises a lot of money too. But we also used to do like steak fries and those kinds of things. And so we also have pull tabs in a number of different bars, and we give all that money back as well. So hopefully that gives you kind of an idea. Lions Club was started by Melvin Jones, who was inspired by Helen Keller, and Helen Keller overcame all of her disabilities and coped with them amazingly. But what's most amazing about her remarkable life is she was a tireless volunteer to her community. And so Melvin Jones was very impressed with how this woman overcame her disabilities and gave back to her community. And so he was inspired to do the same and was commissioned by her to go and champion people with disabilities. And so Lions kind of go after helping people with hearing and eyesight and all sorts of disabilities. So hopefully that answers your.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other council members, any questions?
Sure. What do you need from us in order to start start a local chapter? Is there anything that we actually have to provide? Or is that something that you can do?
So we do all the legwork. We just need help promoting it, whether it's individually. We'll find the ways on social media to try to get the word out. But we ask that if you guys are inclined, put your name on the list and we can let you know when we're gonna have a informational meeting. And we try to get as many folks there as we can, kind of spread the word. and kind of keep the excitement going and so we can establish the club. So we're not looking for financial support, anything like that. We're just looking for, they always say time, treasure, and talents, right? We're looking for your time and your talents to be part of this great organization.
So Glenn, just, unless somebody else has any other questions, to wrap it up, how would somebody reach out or find out about this information?
So I've got a sign up list that I'm going to stick around till the end of the meeting and ask anybody that's interested in learning more about Lions clubs and how we can make an increased community impact, put their name on the list, and we'll let you know. We're hoping to have an informational meeting in the next couple of weeks here in town.
Is there some way then, as people watch us sometimes remotely as we're broadcast from YouTube, the way people there can reach out somewhere to find out about this informational meeting?
I wasn't prepared to answer that question. I would say just look for Lions clubs and what we do, and we'll put stuff on Nextdoor, and if you have a community Facebook page, stuff like that, we will post as much information out there on social media as we can. So we hope to have as many people come. Yep, you betcha.
All right, thank you, Glenn.
All right, thanks.
You guys will hang out through the meeting. 100%. Awesome. All right, so we'll move into our next presentation, under general business 7.1, presentation and update from the Thomas Bryant, who's the chair of our City Government Center Citizens Advisory Committee. So Brian, if you don't want to step into the podium, and we received your outline this morning. Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Again, my name is Tom Bryant. I'm a Credit River resident, and I serve as the chairman of the Credit River Government Center Citizens Advisory Committee. My purpose in speaking tonight is to provide you and those listening an update with the committee's work to date. We have 6 members on the committee. That includes myself, Jeffrey Rosenthal, Thomas Wenninger, Brad Hoffman, Jared Cruz, and Steve DeGroot. Steve is here with me tonight. We've had 3 meetings in the past 6 weeks. During those meetings, we've reviewed our bylaws so everyone knows their duties and what their responsibilities are. We've also identified the key needs of the city, and we're going to explore each of those and make recommendations back to the city council on those needs. And those needs that we've identified based on the information we've been provided are: 1, space needs for this city hall building or a different city hall building and city employees' needs; snow plowing of city streets, the city hall parking lot and parking lots at city parks; additional land for future infrastructure, if such is a recommendation; a public works building and storage, if that is a recommendation; and private septic systems, as that relates to the need for a public work building and public works infrastructure. Now, we're going to review each of those needs and provide a final recommendation, but that recommendation is going to be based on 4 key elements. First, we're going to describe the need to the city council. Then we're going to do an analysis of the alternatives and options to satisfy that need. Then we're going to explain the advantages and disadvantages of each of those alternatives or those options. Also, we're going to look at the potential cost to taxpayers on each of those options if they were chosen to be followed through by the city council. And then we'll make a final recommendation based on all those options and alternatives for each of the needs. In the meantime, we've done a lot of work on the following matters. First, we reviewed the space needs analysis that was compiled by BKV Group, and we've discussed that. Second, research has been conducted by committee members on similar sized and nearby cities and townships. That includes Spring Lake Township, Cedar Lake Township, Newmarket Township, and the city of Empire. And the information we collected includes a number of things. For example, the area of those townships or cities in square miles, the number of paved and unpaved roads, the number of households, the population, the number and kind of businesses in those cities or townships, whether private wells and septic systems are the primary means for water and sewer for their homes, how snow plowing is conducted, and the number of employees that they employ, and then when their town hall was built, because we found that several of these townships have built new town halls in about the past 13 to 15 years. We've also reviewed the 2024 budget. Why? To determine the cost of various services provided to the city, such as snow plowing, mowing, tree removal, and we've researched the cost of purchasing snow plows. Part of that research was the 5-year plan for capital improvements that was provided to the council. I don't think the council took any action on that, but they had looked at a cost of $910,000 to purchase 3 snowplows, 1 for each of 3 consecutive years. Now, by researching all those nearby towns and cities, we've been compiling a list of other contractors, including those that provide snow plowing services. We're also aware that the city just signed a contract with Gallagher's Incorporated to provide snow plowing services to Credit River for 3 years with an option for a 4th year as well. A third matter we discussed is whether we conduct a resident survey. And we are waiting for information from the Vision Committee because they've put together a survey already and we're waiting to receive what their questions are so we don't duplicate those. We haven't decided to do a survey yet, but we want to look at what they've done to see if we should reach out to the residents for further information. We've also reviewed the setback requirements for this lot on which the City Hall now sits. It is zoned rural residential, and we've preliminarily determined that the front setback is 100 feet from the center line of Meadowview Boulevard, out the front door of City Hall here. This setback would provide an option, if the committee so decides to recommend it, to expand City Hall that way towards Meadowview Boulevard, because we have a lot of room to go and still not bump up against the 100-foot setback from the median of the center line of Meadowview Boulevard. Now, during our discussion, a question was raised, should we conduct a soil test if we make a recommendation to possibly expand the City Hall? And that's because the city's road grader was parked in this building for some time, and there was leakage of either hydraulic fluid or grease or oil. And that's something that we would consider in a recommendation, whether we do soil boring tests to make sure there's no contaminants underneath this building, that they were either resolved earlier, or if they need to be resolved, then it should be resolved, cleaned up before any addition would start on this building, if that's what we so recommend. Regarding the possible need to address the issue of failing or non-compliant septic systems, we reviewed data from Scott County on the number of failing or non-compliant septic systems on private home sites from Scott County. And they also have alternative methods to address the problem, and those were listed on the University of Minnesota's on-site sewage treatment program website. So a lot of alternatives there. We're not trying to be experts on septic systems here. That's not our goal here, but we wanted to provide enough information to you and resources either through Scott County or the U of M so that the City Council can pursue that and find out how can these issues of failing or non-compliant septic systems be dealt with down the road. In addition, the committee did agree that a legal opinion from the city attorney was important about whether the city of Credit River has any legal obligation to pay for replacing non-compliant or failing septic systems. Our city administrator did provide us an answer to that question, but perhaps the city may need to ask the city attorney because he can only advise the council and not a committee of the council. So to get an actual legal opinion, you'd have to ask our city attorney for that. That concludes my update. We do have 2 more meetings already scheduled, one for November 14th and then on December 4th, and we'll continue into the new year after that as well. We have a term of 12 months. I'm not sure if we're going to take all 12 months, but we have a lot of issues to cover yet. We've really hit the ground running, so we're going to continue on our efforts here to review and then make recommendations. Any questions from the council?
Thank you, Mr. Bryant, for your presentation. Any council members, any questions? Schomer?
Have we started to look at any land to put a building on?
Not look. The next agenda for the 14th will have an item to discuss potential purchase of additional land, but we haven't gone out to actually look at additional land, but we will be discussing that very issue on November 14th.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Bryant, thank you for
Yep.
the updates.
Thank you for your time.
The rest of the committee. Hard work. Moving to 7.2, set council budget workshop, Administrator Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Be attorney, Mike. There you go.
So, is your council packet and notes, I was speaking with Abdo Tessa Buning about having a second council workshop for your budget, and she is available the 18th, which would be your next meeting. Conceptually, it would be at the conclusion of your regularly scheduled meeting, and if that's something you folks would like to continue those conversations. She indicated to me today she's largely addressed your questions, at least in the document. You'll get a chance to review and and go through those, and begin to touch base on some remaining items such as the CSTS budgets and maybe even just give an update on next year's audit timeline. But she's available on the 18th at 7 o'clock if you folks are desire to have another workshop.
Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be appropriate. And, so to that, is somebody ready to make a motion to, set that council budget workshop for 7 PM on 11/18? So moved. Thank you, Jay.
Second.
Thank you, Abe. Did you have another question?
Just have, before we vote, just a couple of
Yeah,
things.
so you have a motion and a second, Bill, for the discussion.
Yep, number one, will Tessa be able to give us a document the week before we have the meeting?
I would think so. I maybe not a whole week, but I'm sure we want you to give it enough time to look at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's going to provide pretty much the same information with updated numbers from what we looked at last time. She said she was going to say.
I would hope so.
Yeah. And then we didn't get a chance to talk about reserves, but that I assume will be part of the budget
Yeah.
discussion too.
Yeah.
And then can we make the meeting light, the regular meeting light that night, so we have enough time to talk about the budget?
That's up to you guys.
Because we're getting close to December, we don't have a lot of time left. so.
This was the idea.
Yeah.
We have the truth and taxation hearing scheduled for the beginning of December,
Yeah.
so this will be our last opportunity to make modifications before that. Doesn't mean we can't modify it after that, but it'd be best to have as up-to-date information as we can for the truth and taxation hearing.
What that crystal ball is about maybe what's coming at you in a couple of weeks. So another item on your agenda is to set a closed session potentially.
Yeah.
I don't know, and maybe Claire and the city planner or city attorney can help me. I don't know if we have any development applications that's coming before you on the 18th.
It's actually late if they come back in, but that's a small, it's too much.
Okay.
Yeah, it is required. Amy, we just talked about going on.
That's all.
So in theory. We can come up with something.
I won't give you.
All right, so
Mr. Mayor, and to follow up, one of the things that she was going to do was put like a delta on that. So where we started and now after the modification side, I'm gonna make sure that she gets that on there.
Double check.
Perfect. Thank you.
all right, it's good. All right, so I've got a motion by Sutterback, a second by Zanto to set the council budget workshop for 7 PM following our council meeting on 11/18. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 7.3. Consider variance for 7998 Crestview Lane for accessory structure. Leonard Claire.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, so we have a variance request for 7998 Crestview Lane for a permitted detached accessory structure, requesting an after the fact rear yard setback variance. I want to clarify that the reason why we only have the rear yard setback variance on the staff report and resolution this evening is that's how it was provided in the application. So that's how staff move forward with the public hearing, how it was noticed, and a lot of this other stuff that has been brought up, staff is aware of and has been working with the builder and applicant, and particularly on the size of the accessory structure. A variance may not be the best path forward, and that's kind of what we've been working on. We have our weekly staff meetings, and we've also met with the builder and been in communication with them quite a few times on and off throughout this process of this rear yard setback variance. So also typically when variances are submitted, we have to address them individually because they do have their own set. Everyone has to meet a practical difficulty. Every lot's different, every circumstance, every request is different. So those would all have to be separate applications so that we're looking at them in that variance lens. So again, that's why we're only looking at the rear yard setback for this particular agenda item. But this was originally brought to the city by the builder without, this went to the planning commission initially, I think in September. Yeah, September. we didn't have the drainage and utility easement documentation with that initial, when they initially provided. So we initially had recommended denial and the planning commission agreed. We received more information after that denial recommendation, and on the staff level decided to take that information back to the planning commission since our staff recommendation changed to approval, because the location of that drainage and utility easement does, in staff's opinion, constitute a practical difficulty for where they had to place it. They could not move any closer to the home. Therefore, yeah, they had to be what, the 32.86 feet back from their rear property line. So, and the planning commission did have hold an additional public hearing at their October meeting. Nobody from the public other than the builder was in attendance, and they had I guess, and a few council members as well were there. And then we had a small discussion about what the city's been doing to prevent this from happening in the future, and we have adjusted our internal practices for how we're taking in applications and that information. We used to just let people email 5 different separate things, where with the 60-day rules and with just the availability of our staff, we require a hand-in approval where we can document when it's coming in and getting it out to the right staff that need to be reviewing it. And again, it's really uncommon that a survey wouldn't have had this drainage and utility easement to begin with. So I can't answer as to why that wasn't initially there, but most surveys we look at typically have that included in there. So that's what we're doing on a staff level to ensure that this doesn't happen in the future. And that was really the only comments from the planning commission. They recommended unanimous approval of the rear yard variance, but happy to answer any additional questions. And I think it's page 20-ish of your packet has that big yellow site plan that shows the entirety of that drainage and utility easement for the property. And sorry, I wanted to add that we are recommending that the variance be approved with the condition that the applicant combine their 2 lots. That would help alleviate the amount of square footage that this accessory structure has created. Therefore, going back to we're not sure a variance for that is the necessary path. They may be able to, with the combination of those lots, they move up into the higher tier of square footage allowed. And these are all aerial estimates of what they have for existing sizes. We don't know the exact square footages other than the new building that they've built, because the original home was built, I think, in 2008. So all those records are with the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Council members, questions, comments? Margaret?
I didn't understand you addressing Mr. DeGroot's concern about these side or front setback.
Sure.
And that's not in compliance either, is what I got from him, but I didn't understand him either. So is it, and why would we be approving this tonight if there's still an issue with
Sure.
that?
So every variance has to have its own process. And so they'd have to do it again for the side yard. But when this was initially submitted, we had to run it as how it was submitted due to the 60-day rules and how we had,
Shouldn't we know though that there's also an issue with the front or the side as well as the back when we're looking at what if they gave us the print, the survey and the blueprints and all that stuff?
yes, but when we're looking at completeness of an application for the requests that they ask, they met those requirements. And so
it's
that's
common for
where,
us to move something done and we still have an issue?
correct, yeah, because they're separate issues that staff has to move
Would the
forward
outcome
with.
then be pretty much the same?
Yeah,
Like, I'm not gonna ask you for a decision tonight, but
yeah, the side yard is a very similar issue. I mean,
you can't move that structure anywhere.
correct.
really? Okay. And then one more question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Why isn't there a date that we put in the resolution that requires them to do the combination of the lot within 60 days, or otherwise I can see this not ever getting done?
Sure. I think a date is a great idea, but I didn't want to provide that. I thought that'd be a good discussion for the council to determine the deadline that you wanted to
What do you think
see.
is fair for someone to get that done?
So we know that recording at the county is a little slow right now. So maybe,
6 months?
So,
think so.
Mayor and Council, if I may, Claire.
yeah, absolutely.
Mayor, So one of the elephants in the room we still have to, I'm just gonna acknowledge out here is that the permit was issued in error at the front end of this. And so we're trying to deal with all the issues that come from those things. Be good to the applicant. Have fidelity to your ordinance as best we can, follow good planning practices. At the end of the day, is the city gonna be in a position to say to somebody, tear that down? I mean, it's a very difficult thing to do. Yeah, the city would probably have legal standing to do it. Certainly that would be a city attorney thing to respond to. But how do you unfold that? So here we are. So that's the bottom line. So we've worked with the applicant. We feel they meet the rear yard test in good faith with the variance. We've made it very clear the expectation that they're gonna have to combine these lots. If they're not necessarily meeting the exact square footage of it, okay, maybe not. But it's darn close, and they're gonna have to spend probably upwards of $2,000 in surveying, legal fees, recording fees, legal descriptions to create those two parcels, to combine those two parcels. Okay, is it perfect? No, but here we are. What are our options? From a general planning sense, and in my experience, that, you know, 8-9 acre site, which is really what it would be at the end of the day, from a setback standpoint or impact on a piece of property from a height or visual standpoint, most of us probably wouldn't notice unless you're looking at that for that reason. Your ordinance dates back from when it was a town, from the county adoption. So a 60-foot rear yard setback's pretty far, and most cities aren't in that range, or even on a side yard setback. So I don't know if that adds some context here, but we're trying to calm the water and get them what we think is reasonable, and get the city get to a point of closeness, if not perfection. So Peter, I don't know if you'd had anything to add on that, or.
I wish I did. I think you said that very, very well. I don't have anything to add.
To your question about a timeline, we did draft an internal agreement, if you will. That's been shared with the applicant that would put 2 gates. First gate, get us an application for a lot combination. And then the second gate would be completed. So the first gate, they have to hire a surveyor, get the legal description, get that to us by, I think I noted Christmas or
Yeah.
something, and then get it signed and recorded, because it's an administrative process, and by April, I believe I noted.
Great.
So.
Okay, and then what about the side lot variance? Did you ask them to submit an application, or are
No.
you going to do that?
I am not, and I don't want to. It kind of gets to a moot point of all of it. You have that right of way there. Is it ever going to be a street? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe at some point, or that applicant could ask the city to vacate that. That's not necessarily owned by the city. It's public right of way. Would it ever be a street? Maybe, but I think from one sense, it goes back to the initial question of, is the city gonna make them demolish this? We made a mistake. What can we do to make it the best we can?
Well, if they file for an application for a variance, and we can approve it because they don't have, we can approve it.
Because it's practical.
Right, practical.
So let me ask this,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you,
No,
Bill,
no, go on.
but so, Claire, looking at page 20 to 21, the diagram's got that shows the drainage
With the
utility.
yellow.
Yeah. So that line from the corner of the building to the edge of the right of way is 60 feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is 60 feet.
So the front yard though is 67. That's where
Okay, so
there's
that's the application of the process of the setback is from the front yard, the same as the side.
correct. So they're like 6 point something off.
Feet off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right, if it was a true side yard, the side yard setback's 5 feet.
Right, right,
So-
right, but because of the corner lot.
Yep.
they just set the extra
Even with that
setback from
road
the road.
not really being used as road, it's still
At
technically
this
a
time.
corner lot.
Correct.
Correct, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then second question is, where are we on our 60-day clock?
We
this
received an
application.
extension from the applicant.
I think it ends in December.
Yeah.
Early
We,
December.
we notified them of an extension
Yeah.
when they resubmitted with
Yeah.
the D&U easement and they were fine with that.
All right, there is an option that if you needed more discussion, more information on this, that it could be tabled for another meeting.
Mhm. Yes.
December, the November 18th would probably be your last best
Yeah.
opportunity.
Mhm.
So, two questions. One, does us granting this variance set any precedents which are possible that we might have to do that again with somebody else asking for the same thing?
Sure.
Same neighborhood or somewhere in the city? Second question. Are there any objections do we have any idea if there are any objections, are there legal objectors to this? Within neighbors, et cetera, that we reached out to them?
So on the first question about precedence, so state law specifies that variances cannot set a precedent. So if in the future you have somebody that does come in and say, well, you permitted this lot, you have to do the same for me. Variances are looked through on that individual lens for that specific property reason, however may be, and the city attorney might have a slightly better grasp on that than I do. If you want, go ahead.
I want you to answer a second question, then
Okay.
I might jump in on a couple of.
Perfect.
things.
And then on your, can you repeat your second question, please?
The second is basically, do we have any legal objectors? Have they
Oh.
been notified? Are there any people that have objected to this?
So we did not, your variance ordinance requires that we send mailers to neighbors within 1,000 feet. And everybody, those were sent and stamped out, and we did not receive any phone calls or emails or anyone to either of the two public hearings that were held on this. So
Did anybody speak for it?
just the builder. So the other, no.
Mr. Mayor, to answer the question about precedent, I also would like to address Councilmember Margaret's question about the other variants. With respect to precedent, Claire is right. Technically, legally, it can't be precedent. Practically, both legally and politically, the question is how similar is this situation to the one that you approved when you're going to deny this one? It's much less likely to be challenged on granting a variance than denying one. And so the test of precedent comes up when you granted something and in a similar situation later, you don't. And so you need to focus on, in every variance, there really are unique circumstances, unique properties, but sometimes they start to look similar. And so the more similar they are, the more precedent can become an issue in the defensibility of the choices that you've made. In terms of the side yard setback, this 5 or 6 foot discrepancy, I'm learning about that right now, but I believe best practice would be when they come back to deal with the lot consolidation, we should clean that up as well and have them get that variance. And then their property is clean for when they want to sell their property.
Okay,
The challenge, however, I mean, the mayor and council, if I may, are you setting up a process that is predetermined in effect? It's not that it's wrong, it's just that you're basically saying you're setting up a predetermined process when the whole genesis of this issue stemmed from part of city mistake that deals with why we corrected our process and we're doing our best to resolve it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do a variance process of that, but are you basically, is it really deniable in the first place? You can't, sure it is, but then how do we enforce it?
you're saying that when it relates to requiring an additional application for
Right.
additional variance for the side yard.
Right, and as the hammer the city kind of had, well, we're not gonna grant
Combination.
we're not gonna grant an occupancy permit until you complete this. Okay, is it done with an expectation of being approved? Well, okay, if everybody's comfortable with that, but then what's the point?
But if he ever sells his land, he sells his property, and that out there and isn't the buyer's attorney or the buyer's attorney is gonna say, you have to fix this
Yeah,
before.
I
you sell."
get that point, but you know. When, how could that eventually happen and to who? I don't know. That's not wrong in my world, but you've issued an occupancy permit on land, you clearly know what's going on as a city and the record's pretty clear about what happened. I don't know. It's another way to look at it.
Yeah, Jay, it looks like Peter has something to say. He's got this
We're
look-
learning as we go here,
He's
right?
like, got this look like ready to chime in, but I'm not quite sure.
Well, I don't want to. Councilmember, say it about.
Okay, so, yeah, he may be able to answer it anyway. I don't like the idea of leaving unfinished business with this, you know, whether it's, we're talking about 6.7 or 6.89 feet.
Just number 7.
Just under 7 feet. First question would be, does it really matter on that? You know, how stringent is that? And then the second would be, is it possible, rather than to go through the whole process on that, is it possible for the council to amend the approval to approve that? Or, because I don't like the idea of us not addressing something.
That
And leaving it
ordinance,
open.
ordinance requires application and public hearing to the planning commission.
So should it go back to the planning commission?
But that, again, side yard setback should be an additional, not the same variance, an additional variance.
Okay, so we're looking at, I guess.
So you could, in theory, approve this one tonight. And staff through their agreement with the property owner combination then could ask for that additional application. And resolve to the point of cleaning up everything so that if a title search in the future finds a, problem that, nope, it's been addressed legally through the whole process. I'll let Peter.
Well, just to follow up on that same question, then, could we then make that a conditional approval?
A condition
allow for- To
condition
allow
of
for a second,
resolution.
for the second resolution to be taken care of, for the second variance. You know, so that one doesn't fly along by itself.
Your Honor, counsel, we can't do that. We have a 60-day rule problem with leaving this application open while a whole other application is processed. In terms of a couple of issues that were raised, one by the city administrator about something like a predetermination or something like that. I don't believe the council is bound to grant the next variance, even if it's predictable that you might. We've looked at the grounds for this variance. Speaking of precedent, same property, it's the same issue. The gravity of the setback issue is less on the second one, if my math is correct. And so if the council were inclined to deny that, that's your right to do that. And then we'd be in a code enforcement mode vis-a-vis an illegal structure. If you choose not to do that, then everything's done and clean and it's all over. We generally would like to identify the issues and have them all brought forward in one package. It's not always a perfect world, as Eric said, and we don't always get everything. We don't want to grant a variance that results in an illegal, it's still illegal anyway. And so this one, we're just going to wind it through in a few steps and get the whole thing taken care of. And I think the process can be done relatively promptly.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. A lot to consider. Any other discussion? Anybody ready to make a motion in either way on this one?
I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 2024-39 to take care of that. That does address combining the lots, correct?
It does.
Okay, and then in addition to having the property owner submit a new application for the second variance. If that makes any sense.
Okay, so approval of the resolution and
I don't know if you have to write that into this resolution, but that
No.
would just be.
in addition as part of your motion.
Unless you need a second motion, a different motion.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, Councilmember Market, the second piece that you wanted to add was what?
To require the applicant to apply for the side setback. variance.
It's a whole new application, variance.
So I think that the motion would be to approve the resolution, subject to the amendment that an additional condition be not the granting of, but simply that they come forward and apply for that second variance.
So what he said.
All right, we'll take that motion. Anybody ready to second that?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Anto. So I've got a motion and a second to approve the resolution 2024-39, a variance for 7998 Crestview Lane accessory structure. With the added, and I have to read this, the added stipulation that Peter wrote there. But I'm not gonna repeat that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. So staff, I take it you guys got the
Mhm.
instructions then to move forward with this one with the applicant then.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, the notice we sent on September 26th, extending our 120-day period, ends on December 11th.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Item 7.4, consider setting a closed session for notice of claim from South Passage Homeowners Association, Administrator Johnson.
If talking about setting your a schedule for your next meeting, I think you're all generally aware of the situation with the CSTS billing matters. It relates to Monterey Heights and the project from 2021 or 2022. The city received a notice of claim from those from the HOA representative about that matter, and it's probably important you all get together, have a round table, and bring yourself up to speed. Get Peter, the city attorney, involved, and at least start with that.
Okay. Council member, the proposed time for this would be right before our next meeting at 5:30 on 11/18. Everybody's okay with that? I would take a motion
So
to
moved.
set that closed session. Thank you, Jay.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. So we've got a motion and a second to set a closed session in notice of regards to the notice of claim for the South Passage Homeowners Association on November 18th at 5:30 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to staff and council member reports. Peter, Eric, anything? No. Abe,
No, Tom did a great job with the advisory committee.
yep, Leroy,
No.
I have nothing, Jay. Tom made the report. Good.
Nothing, we have another vision committee meeting, I think tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I thought, Tom, thank you very much for the presentation. I've been to a couple of those as an observer, sitting way in the back. And I think you're on the right track. I really appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Awesome, thank you, Bill. Is there anything additional?
Nope, thank you.
Amy, you ready for a full election report?
I could.
No, I appreciate the hard work you put into the election along with everybody yesterday. I hope you learned a lot.
I did, yeah, it went great.
Perfect.
I was very proud of us. We had a huge turnout. It was like, I think 78% of total.
What was you
registered
the final
voters.
vote? Registered voter number was?
Um,
Well, 4165 was the total in the morning it started, but I don't know how many actually came in.
Yeah, we added 102.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many actually came through? Or how many voted in the election?
I know that here at this precinct, we had 1203.
Okay,
And I can't remember what Cleary had, but it was almost 800.
okay, and no hiccups?
Nope,
One question, how many people did we have to send over to Cleary?
a few. Yeah,
A few, when you say a few,
20-ish.
Oh.
Like
After
we
they
talked
waited
about
in line all the way through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it got wet in the rain and I felt terrible,
Yeah.
but we did try every way that we could to notify them.
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
the
I think it was-
changes.
I know.
oh, yeah, there was a postcard that was sent by the
Yeah.
county in the spring. We sent out the mailer.
Yeah.
We sent out an email, we had a website, we had it on Facebook, we had.
I thought
One
of-
election, everyone's gonna know.
Well, this is the third time we voted up there now, so.
Well, I think maybe we have like an easel or something towards the back of the line, so if you're
If
you're in Prior Lake School District, go over there or something, maybe we do
Sign up
next
there,
week.
And then I sent the poll workers out
Yeah,
on the line
good.
every now and then to announce if
That's
they
good.
needed to, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Still didn't pay attention.
Fine, yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
But 78% of the registered voters.
Yeah, I think we had a turnout of 78%.
great.
Good. They were
Great job on the flow.
Oh, thank you.
Lots
the
of good,
newsletter, yeah.
lots of good
Yeah.
comments on it, so.
I got a
Excellent.
nice email from one of the residents today about it too, so.
Good.
it was nice
Good,
to
good,
hear.
good, good.
Yep.
Yeah, and just for those who want to hear it again or just, didn't catch it, but there is a QR code link in that printed one where it can take you to sign up to receive it electronically. Really, I think that's the hope, is that most people get up, sign up electronically, so maybe at some point in the future, we don't have to print them and incur that expense, but we committed to printing it twice a year until we get more people signed up in the news, on the email chain, so. Sign up, encourage your friends to sign up. And their friends.
If the Lions Club folks could want to give us a link, we could put that in one of the newsletter,
Sure, I was thinking that.
so whatever.
Yep. Perfect. All right, sounds good.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion by Zonto, second by Siderock, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, everybody, and have a good evening. Drive safe now, it's dark out. That's that's the next thing we gotta change.
And the lights are on in the parking lot. I turned them on. They were working when you came in.
Yes.
I walked in. I wasn't in it except for the street light. I don't know. Like, really, nobody can look at some switch. If the house, if they can't read, you could read anything else. Yeah.